Hello, this is Just Listen, hosted by George. Today is December 22nd, 2025. Welcome to the program, and also it's 3 days before Christmas. I am so excited. Today, I want to talk about the U.S. federal government policy on the affordability of or on grocery prices. As you know, this has been a pretty important topic the last several weeks. So I've been watching the mainstream news shows and trying to form an opinion. And here is where I come in. I love facts and data, so I thought that was time to inform the public of a couple of items that they may not know about the affordability of grocery prices. So let's start with the policy. So it's not really a policy, it's an approach to grocery affordability, which the current administration, the Trump administration, is focusing on curbing anti-competitive practices. So that's one of the items that they're looking at. There's actually a few more that I'll get into. So the definition of anti-competitive practices is business actions that restrict competition, leading to higher prices, lower quality, less innovation, or fewer choices for consumers, often by powerful firms trying to maintain market dominance. So that's affordability of anti-competitive practices. All right. So within that context, it falls into two categories. Collusive, which is agreements between competitors like price fixing or market division, and abusive unilateral actions by a dominant firm. And then you've got antitrust laws aimed to prevent this behavior to ensure fair markets. Okay, so those items would fall into a bigger conversation, but that's not the way I want to go. I'm trying to set the table to why grocery prices are more expensive and how the government is coping with making them affordable. So we've got price fixing. Competitors agree to set prices artificially high. Then we got bid rigging. Competitors collude on who wins bids in a competitive process. Now, all we know so far is that we're getting the sound bites from the mainstream media to why groceries are costing more. And as you all know, we actually go to the grocery store. We can't say that of the federal government if the people actually who are in Congress are actually the ones going to the grocery stores. Okay. Also, we got market division. Competitors agree to divide territories or customer bases. Now, these are anti-competitive practices. So, do we know if there's price fixing? Do we know if it's bid rigging or if there is market division? We have no idea. Well, one of the reasons why we don't know is that I've heard no information from the mainstream media on these three items. And the Federal Trade Commission actually is supposed to be in charge of doing these audits so the American consumer would know. Now, we always hear about pharmaceuticals. So, another anti-competitive practice is brand name drug makers pay generic companies to delay cheaper versions. Okay, so if they're doing that, mainstream media hasn't focused on that. What have they focused on? They have focused strictly on the Trump administration and tariffs, for one thing, or pointing a finger at the administration for the prices not coming down without any explanation to they don't why they think that it's not coming down based on evidence. Now, what is the harm? Okay, so we the consumers are in the middle of this. So it harms us by reducing value and choice, prevent new businesses from entering the market, and stifle innovation and economic growth. Okay, so those are generic things. Here's how it affects me to kind of keep it real here. So when you go to the grocery store, you see that the prices are higher. Meat in the last 2 years that I've been shopping has gone up at least 30%, especially chicken. And as I've told you previously, some of the grocery stores actually have sales on certain things. Now you've got to wonder at their choices. Also, depending on when you go, I have actually noticed on the weekend that food seems to be more expensive than on the weekdays. And also, you have to search the store for like any deals that you're going to find. They don't, when you go into the grocery store, they don't have big signs saying, hey, the deals are right here, the deals are right here, the deals are right here. And the other thing is, most of the times, the deals are on the unhealthy food, which I've never understood why that's a strategy of why they do that. All right, so how does the government address it? So I talked about the Federal Trade Commission. They are supposed to investigate and prosecute the violations. Now, and you also got antitrust laws, which would prohibit these actions. The last time that I heard of a successful antitrust case against a huge corporation was actually Microsoft back in the 90s. Other than that, like I said, they blame the administration. And the administration, whoever they are, is supposed to know how to curb it. But if you really think about it, they don't have any power. The administrations don't have any power because all they can do is send the Federal Trade Commission in there. And as you know, these corporations have all of this influence, and also they can lobby Congress. Now, here is something that needs to be discussed. So currently, the mainstream media is blaming tariffs for the prices being expensive. Now, we have to talk about what the tariffs are actually doing from the administration. Okay, so when the administration is talking about tariffs, they have recently targeted tariff reductions. So the two examples I found were on coffee and beef. So the aim to lower them by saving importers money through relief is supposed to be the strategy. Why it's lagged behind is because existing high cost inventory, supply chain lag, and then you've got labor and weather. Now, this whole process of tariffs is very complicated. So in a perfect world, you would see the results of that almost immediately. But when the tariffs are aimed at certain products, the owners of the company, that's what they say. Well, it's high cost inventory. I still have all of this other stuff I paid more for. supply chain. And then if all else fails, they'll say, hey, it's labor or it's the weather. Okay. So the whole theory of this tariff as it applies to groceries is reduce import costs. So when tariffs are cut, the cost for U.S. companies to bring goods like coffee, beef, or bananas into the country decreases. Pass through savings. So importers and retailers are expected to pass some of these savings on to consumers, leading to lower shelf prices. Okay, you can decide if bananas and beef are lower based on this, or is it based on that the companies that are bringing these in say, well, my cost is still high based on what I told you earlier. So I've actually got to charge people more money. And like I told you, they're going to say inventory lag, supply chain delays, and then other costs. So now, when retailers do make decisions, retailers might absorb some savings or face pressure from other costs, meaning prices drop, aren't guaranteed, or may be minimal. Okay, so we've gotten through that piece of it, and we know now that it's a complex process, but it has to be presented by the mainstream media. I like processes where they explain what the process is, as you know. So that's why I brought up those items, because I'm not sure where the holdup is under the tariff process that I just presented to you. So, key federal policies, executive actions. Okay, so the Trump administration in December, there's an executive order which targets food supply chain security, focusing on anti-competitive behavior, price fixing, foreign influence, with task forces formed to enforce rules and bring actions. So that is what they just did a week or so ago, or maybe even a couple of days ago, where they are doing, he's having the Federal Trade Commission look and see why the prices haven't gone down based on policies. Trade and tariffs. Tariffs are imported foods that have been a point of contention, with some arguing they raise prices, etc. So this one is really talking about the mega bill to SNAP that took certain foods off of there that people were buying that weren't healthy, etc. And then expecting people to register for the program correctly and make sure that they were citizens, because the federal government will spend more money on the program and wasteful money if it's people who are ineligible. Now, the other focus point again is the supply chain issue, labor and wages. This is a very complex thing, but the bottom line for the American people is that grocery prices are high, and the administration is now trying to figure out why they are high based on the policies that they put in place. Now, the soundbite will tell you that, well, with those tariffs, it's always going to be more expensive. Now, when you dig into the details like we always do, that's not necessarily it. And the mainstream media never talks about how these corporations might be doing this illegal behavior. So if you're going to talk about it, you have to balance it with really both sides. And also, the bottom line is, if you've got corporations, and you know who they are in the food industry, that are showing 10% profits every year, and everybody should make a profit, you have to look at if They are actually, what is their behavior that they're making so much more when they're telling you that they don't have supplies, etc.? They have all of these other costs. So we, the people, we, the voter, need to really look at the affordability of groceries and pinpoint where the actual problem is. Look at the facts and data. Is it because the corporations have gotten greedy? That's what the administration now is trying to find out. What do you think? This is Just Listen, hosted by George. Let me know what you think.